Greetings! I am Herbert Erpaderp, and today I'm going to have a look at what's in this box. It says that it's a Hobby Boss German Land-Wasser-Schlepper early type in 1/35th scale, but is it really? Yes it is. We're just going to have a look at the various bits in this video. I won't be building the kit just yet, but I will soon begin building this on stream and a video will eventuate from that. You can see here the front of the box, obviously. I quite like the art. Personally, my favourite part is the doggo. Sadly, the kit doesn't come with a dog of any kind. The sides of the box are about what you would expect. There's a couple of illustrations that serve as painting suggestions, and a bunch of information about the vehicle. Very box. Inside we find these sprues, which are individually wrapped. Some of them, with finer, more easily broken parts, have foam wrapped around them for protection. One of the first things I spotted, and my heart sank a little bit, is the rubber band tracks. But I'm not going to let that discourage me. We'll have a look at them in a bit. First, the instructions. These are more or less what I expected. A nice 12-page booklet-style set of instructions. They are large, but that's fairly normal for a kit like this, and it's not really a problem. The first page has sprue diagrams, which are helpful if you think you're missing something from the sprues. The rest of the instructions is taken up by, well, instructions. There are 10 steps in total, and while I haven't given them a thorough read-through, they seem to be pretty easy to understand and follow. They look to be laid out neatly and in a logical way. When it comes time to build, I'll know for sure, but it looks like there should be no confusion caused by these instructions. A separate sheet gives us some full-colour painting suggestions, which are the same schemes as shown on the sides of the box. There is a little bit more detail here, but these are still very simple, and definitely more of a suggestion than a guide. Also included is this string, which I think I'm correct in assuming is for making ropes. On the other side of the same bag is this pair of photo etch grills. These should look pretty good when they're installed. There's also this bag which contains a set of stickers which, if I understand correctly, are intended for masking windows, though amusingly they're referred to as a die-cut mast, not a mask. It's an easy enough mistake to make, I suppose. The other side of this bag holds the decals. You can't really see much here. I wanted to leave them in the bag to try and avoid losing them. You can see the markings in the instructions. They're not super exciting anyway. All of those things are well and good, but let's see the plastic. I'm pretty sure that's why most people would buy this kit. First, this clear sprue. Pretty simple. These are clearly window glazings. There are 2 of these sprues. They're nice and clear and should do what they're meant to do, which is mostly be clear. In addition to those, there are 4 other sprues. This big one of these small fellows, and 2 of these medium guys with all the wheels and sprockets. There are also the rubber band tracks. They came all bent up like this in the box, which means they might be a little bit less than straight when trying to install them. They were also detached from their sprue. I have to be honest, despite my distaste for this kind of tracks, up close they don't look too bad. They're pretty neat looking. I think if they go onto the model well and they stay there, they should look decent enough. I am happy to give these a chance. And I have no idea if suitable aftermarket tracks are available anyway. Moving on, more plastic bits. The hull bottom comes as its own piece. All the major hull pieces do. There are a few mounting holes on this part and the back is wide open so it's not going to float, but I bet you could build this kit so that it does float. I don't think I'll do that though. This part is rather large and sturdy. It's also quite well detailed in my opinion. There's a lot of nice rivet detail going on. It's not quite so obvious from a distance, but when you look at it up close you can see it very well. The recesses between the plates are quite deep, which I'm not entirely sure is realistic, but they should catch washes and weathering colours quite well, if you're into that sort of thing. I think most of you might be. It should look interesting when it's painted up anyway. Next we have the top of the cabin, I guess you might call it. The place where the crew goes. It's not really a fighting vehicle, so it's not a fighting compartment or anything like that. Like the hull, there is some nice rivet detail, which I think looks very good. Plenty of windows for the crew to look out of too. I do hope the included masks work well, otherwise it might be a bit of a pain in the arse to mask out all of these windows for painting. And here's the deck part. Who doesn't like a nice deck? This is just as good as the previous couple of parts. So far they've all been neatly moulded, and I don't think much cleanup is going to be needed at all. I like the interior decking detail in here. From the mounting slots and looking at the instructions, you can see that this kit is going to have some interior detailing, which should be interesting, and hopefully quite visible through those windows. Now let's look at the bits that are on the sprues. These wheels look pretty good. Not a whole lot to say about them, really. There seems to be a bit of flashing on the sprue gates around that propeller, but the propeller itself seems fine. In fact, most of these parts do seem fine. There is of course going to be mold lines, very minor ones as best I can see, but of course there could always be things that I've missed. I am old and crap after all. But all of these parts are quite neatly moulded, and I couldn't find any defects. The detailing is pretty good too. There's a lot of tiny bits that make up some of that detailing. The only problem I can really see with those is the risk of breaking them when removing them from the sprue or trying to clean them up. I would suggest some care be taken when doing that suggestion mostly being directed at myself. This next sprue has I don't think they're exhausts. Whatever the vent thingies on top of the cabin are, they're here, on this sprue. There are also window coverings, and some other odds and ends. They all look neat and well detailed. I can't really think of much to say about these. There are no visible defects and hopefully no invisible ones. I suppose we'll find that out when I start building. This final sprue holds the rear of the hull, which is just as well detailed and rivety as the other hull parts. You will probably be very unsurprised to learn that there is no difference in quality between this sprue and the others. Very neat parts with minimal mold lines and nice detail. There's a handful of little detaily odds and ends here, of which I barely have a clue of their functions. There's also an anchor, which is probably very useful when your vehicle partially functions as a boat. There is a huge gap here in the sprue, and it does look like there was something here, but the sprue diagram also shows a big gap, so it likely isn't anything worth worrying about. It could be a part for another variant of this kit or something. I don't know. The rest of the parts all seem fine and dandy. A lot of them are quite fine, and I can certainly see why there was foam wrapped around some of these sprues. I did feel a little concerned just handling them. I'm sure they're mostly solid enough, but these fine bars and rods probably won't take much abuse. That's okay though, as long as you're careful when handling them you probably won't break anything. Probably. So that's all of the parts. I don't feel like I need to go over each individual piece. I don't know what most of them are anyway. You can see them though, and I think that's what's important. These videos are mostly to give you a good look at the parts. Obviously, me uploading this video means I plan to start working on this Land-Wasser-Schlepper pretty soon. Not right away, but soon. And that means there will be at least a couple of streams in which I build this. If you want to watch those streams, be sure to head over to twitch.tv/Herbert_Erpaderp or click the link in the description. Give me a follow and you'll be notified when I go live. Come on by and watch me build models, which usually happens twice a week. I also play video games if that's something you're interested in. So what do you think of this kit? Do you think it's going to build up nicely? Or am I in for a world of frustration? Also, if you do want to watch the streams of this being built, which time zone are you in? I would ideally like to build this at a time when more people are interested in seeing it. That makes sense, right? Let me know in the comments below. Also, if you enjoyed this, or thought it was helpful in some way, please share the video around, especially with people you think might find it useful. That would be great. And of course, I shall return soon, so until then, be excellent to each other and thank you for watching. Farewell.